Hi and welcome to the Arsenal Circle. Here to talk to you today about my picks for the EA Sports FIFA Ultimate Team Team of the Year. And today I'm just going to be discussing all the players that I think are big shouts and then picking my actual team as well. So I'm not just going to be mentioning the players, it'll be, I'll actually be discussing it and choosing and really explaining why I've chosen a player. So let's just go straight into it. I'm going to start in goal, and he's the first man there. It's Thibaut Courtois. Now, a lot of people are going to argue with this, and a lot of people are going to say Alisson. And I think Alisson's the second man everyone's discussing, and everyone's saying it should be Alisson if it's not Courtois. I'm going to tell you why I didn't pick Alisson. Well, Alisson didn't really have any moments, anything that stood out to me, any game where I thought, wow, Alisson is a world-class keeper in 2022. And whilst I don't want to just judge everything off of this, if we go to the trophy standpoint of things, which I think is one of the more important things to look at for keepers, because there aren't as many things to judge them on, we can see that Courtois won the league, he's won the Champions League, Alisson's won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. It's a clear divide in levels, and I think it's important to recognise that Courtois is a better player. That's another debate. Has been a better player over the last year, and I think the Champions League final really just, it really just encapsulates what he's been able to do over the last year with Real Madrid and over in Spain. He's just been a brilliant keeper, and I know the World Cup may have been a bit underwhelming, but for most of the keepers here, the World Cup was underwhelming. If we're going to judge it off World Cup, we got two options. We got Bonu and we got Martinez. But we're not just judging it on World Cup. We're judging it across the whole 2022. And Alisson doesn't deserve it. Similar thing with Ederson. I just don't think he had as good a 2022 as Courtois. And I think no one else is arguing any of the other keepers. So I think I'm free to move on. Now this is where it starts getting controversial. When we start talking about the defenders. So I'm going to start with left back and we'll make our way forward. I'm going to start off with Theo Hernandez. Now, this might be a very, very dodgy pick for some, but I think it's important to recognise how important this player is to AC Milan. We're not talking about a player like Joao Cancelo that Man City could live without. AC Milan would not be in the position that they are in right now without Theo Hernandez, and they would not have won the league last season. They would not be doing so well this season. I mean, of course, they would like to be top of the league, but I think with Theo, without Theo, they'd be in a much worse spot, and he's really, really come to life since his move from Real Madrid. He's been a really good fullback for AC Milan. He's able to progress the ball, he's able to move the ball forward, he's able to pass nicely, he's able to finish, he's able to get into attacking positions. Him and Leao down the left side has been a really dangerous thing, a dangerous threat for opposing teams in the Serie A, and I do think that Theo Hernandez deserves the spot over Joao Cancelo, which I think is the main kind of rival for that spot, right? I don't think anyone's arguing anyone else, and that's just my pick. Now moving on to right back, we've got another Real Madrid reject. We've got Hakimi. Now, what I will tell you, if Reece James were given the whole year, it would be Reece James. I've noticed the impact he's had at Chelsea. He's been incredible, and Chelsea don't win if Reece James isn't on the pitch. Genuinely, look at it. They don't win if he's not on the pitch, and the times where they've had their losing streaks is when Reece James isn't on the pitch, and I think Reece James deserves an enormous shout out because he has been brilliant, as much as it pains me to admit it. But let's talk about the man I chose. Let's talk about Achraf Hakimi, because whilst, you could argue that his 2022 wasn't anything special, I mean, we have to look at the World Cup and how he carried Morocco, or, well, let's not say carried. He was an integral part of Morocco's progression to the semi-finals, and he was able to win the league with PSG. PSG won the cup as well. He was part of that. And just in general, Achraf Hakimi is just a brilliant right back. You see his pace, you see his aggression. He's fast pass off the ball. He's able to progress himself forward. He's a brilliant football player, and I really think he deserves the Team of the Year spot over anyone else. But another shout that I don't think is being talked about enough is Kieran Trippier, and I would not be surprised if someone was to put him in there. Because this is what I don't think people understand with Team of the Year. It's the Team of the Year. It's not the accolades of the year, the stats of the year. It's who have been the best player. And even if we do go to stats, I mean, Kieran Trippier, he's up there for assists from a fullback position. He's been a brilliant fullback for Newcastle. And with him, Newcastle have been able to push for Champions League, especially this season. And he got him out of that relegation rut when he signed for them in January last season. He's been brilliant, and I really think he deserves a shout out. Now, I think this is one which is highly, highly controversial, and it's the two centre halves. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know who I'd actually say have been the best two. I'm just going to pick who I think based off of what I've seen, because I think most people will go out here and they'll say Van Dijk and they'll say Ruben Dias. And I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to say Fikayo Tomori and Gvardiol. Now, let's just stay here on the defenders. Now, I get that these are going to be two very, very unpopular shouts, and a lot of people are going to disagree with them and say, you know what, why is Van Dijk not here? Why is Ruben Dias not here? Why is, I don't even know if there's any others, Eder Militao, for example, not here? Why is Marquinhos not here? Why is Rudiger not on the list? Yeah, no, but look, I'll walk you through the reasons I picked Tomori and Gvardiol. So the reason I picked Tomori is, again, it's very similar to Theo Hernandez. He'd be rock solid at back for AC Milan. He won them one of the reasons he won the one of the reasons they won the Serie A. His physicality is incredible, matched with his pace and his pure just defensive skill in general. He's just a brilliant player. He's able to dribble the ball. He's able to progress the ball, as in pass it forward. Him and Tonali passing, the link-up play there, especially with, a fully fit Mainan. It's a brilliant way to progress the ball forward, and he's been the channel through that, and he's won the Serie A. Why is Tomori being overlooked on so many lists? He's had a brilliant year, and he was robbed of a World Cup call-up. Similarly, who's had a brilliant year? We're talking about Gvardiol. Now, this is probably, in my opinion, the less popular pick of the two. And it's the one I could change for a Marquinhos or an Eder Militao if you convince me well enough. I've just gone for him over those two options because I believe that he has, he's had a really good, last season with RB Leipzig, and then he's come to the World Cup and he's absolutely bossed the World Cup. I mean, I knew he was a good player before the World Cup, but you have to watch some of his games. And if we disregard that game against Argentina, which I think you need to do, it's incredible what he's able to do. Similarly to Tomori, I mean, it looks like I've picked cards that are good for FIFA because, the pace, the physicality, the defensive attributes, he's tall, left-footed, which you don't get a lot of left-footed centre-backs at his level, in my opinion. I mean, I know it's kind of irrelevant, but you really have to look at Gvardiol and watch him play to understand why I picked him. And I could completely understand if you didn't want to pick him and you wanted to pick Eder Militao or Marquinhos, because I think they're equally deserving. But in my opinion, I just don't think Van Dijk or Ruben Dias have been good enough. I mean, I'm obviously primarily a Premier League watcher, and neither of them have impressed me enough to be on this list. And when I go out and I watch the games of the other leagues, so far I haven't picked a single Premier League player. And there's a reason for that. It's because I really think in over the 2022, other leagues have really stepped it up and really improved their game. I still do believe that, I'm waffling now, but I still do believe that Premier League is the most competitive league in the world. And there will be some Premier League players on here, don't get me wrong. But I think defensively, especially, we will see, look, the full back line. I mean, you can argue Prem players in every position, but I've gone with other leagues because I believe that these are the players that deserve it. Bit of a tangent there. Let's move on to the midfielders. Now, moving on to the midfielders, there's one that I'm just going to put in, and I don't think any more words need to be said. It's Jude Bellingham. This guy has been absolutely unplayable at times for Borussia Dortmund and for England. If you just watch him in the World Cup, we would not live without him. He controls the midfield. Him and Declan Rice were able to control every midfield we played against. And we really looked like we had control of the ball 90% of the time. And one of the crucial factors for that is Jude Bellingham. If you watch him for Borussia Dortmund, he's brilliant, and I know that he hasn't won anything, and this is the argument. He hasn't, he's playing for Borussia Dortmund, all this, all that. But, apart from a little bit, of not being the best defender, I mean, he's not a bad defender by any stretch of the imagination. His passing, again, I'm going to mention passing a lot because I think it's a lot more important than people recognise. His passing, he's able to dribble with the ball. His shooting from long range is incredible, isn't it? He's not slow either. He's a very physical player. He's 6'3". He's a presence in the box. You don't want to play against Jude Bellingham. If you see him on the other team, you're not happy with playing against him because he's unplayable at times. This guy is 19 playing at his level. It's really incredible, and I think you can't argue with it. I really don't think you can argue with Jude Bellingham. But now comes the decision for the other two midfielders, and there's a lot of options here, and I haven't fully made up my mind, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to go with. I'm going to choose this one first. It's Casemiro. Now, I don't want to pick Casemiro because I don't like Man United, but let's just look at it for how it is. Casemiro came to United, I think it was this summer, right? Before then, he'd won the Champions League and the league with Real Madrid. He's come to Man United, a team that's finished, where they didn't want to finish in the league. Lower down, they're in the Europa League now. They're struggling. What has Casemiro done? Well, he's elevated that team. He's knocked out the Fred and the McTominay and everything that people were mocking. I don't see anyone talk about Fred, McTominay in the Man United midfield. You know why? Because they've got someone else. They've got Casemiro, and he has been brilliant. He's really elevated them. Look at Man United in the league right now. They're only a few points off of City. They could easily challenge for the title if they wanted to. And a lot of it is down to Casemiro. If you watch this guy on the ball, his defensive presence and his ability to progress the ball, I love his ability to progress the ball, by the way. He's so good at it. And he just acts as that perfect CDM kind of player, the perfect six. And I don't think you can argue with it, unfortunately. Like, I wouldn't want to put him. And there's a lot of people that could be on here. But that's just my opinion. We're going to move on to the third player, and I'm going to put him in. It's Luka Modric. Now, I do believe that Luka Modric is completely deserving of the spot. Again, similarly to Casemiro, he won the league, he won the Champions League, he played really well in the World Cup, got Croatia to a semi-final. He's a contender for the Ballon d'Or, in my opinion. I don't think he'll win it, and I don't think he should win it, but he's a contender for sure. He's had a brilliant season in general. What is there not to like about Modric? He can do it all. Again, like, we could talk about all the attributes, but what can Luka Modric not do? He's nice and agile, good at passing the ball, can shoot. And I know he's gotten a bit slower over the years, and he's not as dangerous of a player as he used to be. In that sense, I guess, in terms of the physical game. But, he's still a brilliant player, had a brilliant season, and that's why I picked him. Let's talk about some other options for the midfield. I'm going to talk about the two Arsenal boys, Odegaard and Saka, who I think deserve tremendous shout-outs, because both of these players could be in the team of the year, I think, if you actually look at it. I think both of them have really, really been brilliant, and this is the problem with football these days. People are going to stat pad and say, look, Saka only got this many goals, he got this many assists. Same thing with Odegaard. But if you watch him in the play, this is the one annoying thing about being an Arsenal fan right now, is that with Arteta's system, they play 4 attackers, and 4 goals and assists are shared amongst, goals and assists are shared amongst 4 people, essentially. And that just means that none of the players can be recognised on the TikTok level, and this culture that we have these days, like, oh, this guy got this many goals in this many games, he's that much better than this guy. And I genuinely believe that Saka is the best, if not, well, maybe not the best, the second best, because I have Jude Bellingham in that English youngster in the world right now, and he will be in the team of the year next year, or if not the year after. And similarly with Odegaard, because he's just been brilliant. Let's not argue it. But yeah, I think they deserve tremendous shout outs. Other players that deserve shout outs, again, Sandro Tonali, another AC Milan boy. I mentioned him earlier. He could also easily be in this team of the year. I think an outside shout is Declan Rice. I mean, I don't think I'd put him in there. He's been brilliant. Sadio Mane's on here. I mean, it's not a midfielder in my opinion, so no. Kroos, I think, is the other one where it was like, if the World Cup didn't happen, it would be Toni Kroos there instead of Luka Modric. But it did happen, and that's just the unfortunate thing. I think Rodri over here, again, he's been brilliant for City. Great defensive midfielder. Similarly to Casemiro, I mean, it was a toss-up between those two, as well as a couple other players. I could have put Kroos in there. Again, I could have put Rodri in there. And the other player that I could have put over Modric was Fede Valverde. He's been brilliant for Real Madrid, and I really think he's underrated. Could easily be in the team of the year. He's been able to progress the ball going forward. He's been able to play in the right wing, the right back, centre mid. Where do you want him to play? He'll play there. He's been so versatile, and I love that about players, and I really think he deserves a massive shout for that. But that's the midfielders. That's my midfielders chosen. Let's move on to the forwards now, and this is where I believe the controversy begins, and I feel that I could get some hate. But I'm going to explain my reasoning. I think the two ones that have to be in there, no matter how you look at it, it's Messi and it's Mbappe. And I'm not going to talk about it too much. They both won the Liga and then the French Cup. Messi won the World Cup. Mbappe's a World Cup finalist. They were the top two scorers in that competition. They've been the top two scorers in terms of goal assists in Europe. They've been consistently brilliant throughout the year. Messi's going to win another Ballon d'Or. And Mbappe is just, he's a phenomenal football player. So difficult to defend against, and of course he deserves to be in this team of the year. So this is where it becomes, well, who is your third pick? It's none of these. It's Erling Haaland. We're putting him right there. Ooh, this is going to be dodgy. Now, I believe it's between three players. I believe it's between Benzema, it's between Haaland, and it's between Lewandowski. Now, most people are going to put Benzema because he did win the Ballon d'Or, and it's pretty hard not to put the Ballon d'Or winner. But I think we have to look about the whole season. Now, obviously, since the Ballon d'Or, the Champions League, and the La Liga, I know only those accomplishments, right? He hasn't done that much. Benzema hasn't been as present in the league. You know, I don't think he hasn't been in form. He hasn't been this machine that Erling Haaland has been. And I think Erling Haaland never wasn't that machine in 2022. He was banging in goals for Dortmund. He's been banging in goals for City. He's made the Premier League team look like Sunday League. And to be able to do that, it's incredible. Haaland gets 10 touches of the ball, he gets 5 goals. Haaland can turn any attack into a goal. Haaland is a presence in the box. His headers are impossible to deal with. His pace and his physicality matched together is impossible to deal with. Haaland has been unplayable in the Premier League, and he's been unplayable in the Bundesliga. So I think if we look at a player and take a player for what they've been able to do across the whole year, I think I'd give it to Haaland. And I think the main reason Benzema actually won the Ballon d'Or was not because of this season. Not because of this year, sorry. It was because last year, like the first portion of last season, the first half of last season, he was just banging in goals and assists like it was nobody's business. He had about 60 goal assists in like 45 games. Compare that with the second half of the season. I mean, I'm burning sorts of imagination. It's not bad, but I do think I'd put Haaland over him because we can really look at it, and I can tell you for a fact that Haaland will completely surpass Benzema's career, and I know it's team of the year, so it's not based on that. But if you really look at it for this year as a player, who would I take over the year? Who's been better? I think Haaland has been better. Maybe I'm unpopular for that. Maybe I'm. So be it. The other shout, I believe, is Lewandowski, and I don't really get it, to be honest. He's gone, he had a brilliant season with Bayern Munich. Goes to Barcelona, has a pretty good season there so far, and yeah, I mean, but it's not team of the year standard. It's what people don't understand. Why are you picking Lewandowski just because he's scoring goals? Him as a player has not been you know, to be fair, that is a bit ironic because I had put Haaland there, and I will understand that. But Lewandowski's not able to make goals from nothing like Haaland is able to, and he hasn't got the physicality that Haaland has. He doesn't have the heading presence. He doesn't have the agility on Haaland to be able to move about the way he does at that kind of height with that kind of strength. The guy is like, you know, when you're watching wrestling and some big guys doing a somersault off the top rope. That is Erling Haaland, man. I know he's not known for his agility, but you just watch. He can weave around defenders if he wants him to, and he can bang in goals from wherever. I don't think Lewandowski is able to do that as well as Erling Haaland, and I don't think he has been doing that as well as Erling Haaland over the 2022. And you know, I might be unpopular with this opinion, and I do think that Lewandowski does deserve to be recognised. But yeah, that is my team of the year, and I think we should talk about a 12th man, because why not? There's a 12th man in the team of the year. Who would I pick? I can pick anyone. I can have anyone. Ooh, let's make that decision. It could be Neymar. I think Benzema's got to be the 12th man, right? My 12th man would be Karim Benzema. He would be my 12th man. Purely because of the reason I've stated, and you know, I never meant to say he had a bad year when I put Haaland over him. I just think in the actual team of the year, Haaland probably had a better year, in my opinion. You're allowed to think I'm wrong. But yeah, let me know who you are putting in your team of the year. Who do you disagree with on this list? Who do you agree with on this list? Yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.